Before we get started with the two big powerhouses we have in store for you, just a quick question for you guys. I want hands up. Career, community, confidence. Someone just give me something that you've extrapolated from the breakout sessions that we've had. First, let's start with career. Anyone have anything? Was that enlightening, huh? Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. What about confidence? And speak up, please, so everyone can hear you, too. That was great. Thank you. Confidence. Yep. Go ahead. Stand up.
Don't be afraid to take up space.
That's brilliant. I love that. And last one, community. No one got anything on community? We're not moving on until we get community. Nothing. You didn't learn anything about community. Building up the people around you, building up yourself. Okay. Both of you, actually. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Do I say my name or?
Sure, we'd love that.
My name is Anisha, and what I got from community is that it's okay to have mentors and mentees because they help inspire each other and to become ourselves.
Thank you, that is fantastic. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on and bring out our two very special guests to close out the evening. Feels like evening, right? First, help me welcome Jennifer Fisher. She's the Chief Wellbeing Officer at Deloitte. And then Jill Ellis, U.S. Women's National Team Head Coach and World Champion. Welcome, guys. All right, this is going to be fun. Okay, first of all, Jennifer, I want to start with you. What actually is, for all of us who maybe do not know, a Chief Wellbeing Officer?
Well, it's actually quite a common question that I get. I also get told that I have the coolest title ever. But basically, you know, for us at Deloitte, but I think this spans beyond Deloitte, I'd like to say that if you employ humans, you should care about their well-being and how they show up at work every day, because that impacts, regardless of what industry you're in, that impacts, you know, the work product, you know, that they're doing. And so for us, you know, it's really about culture and creating a culture of well-being in an environment where people can take care of themselves, however they define self-care, because there's millions of definitions of self-care. And so really creating that culture that allows people to have a really meaningful career and have a life at the same time, because both are possible. And so it spans from, you know, learning and development programs to tools and resources to a whole host of things. But it's really about culture and setting the right tone and setting the right culture for our people to, you know, make self-care a priority so that they show up in their life every single day the way that they want to.
Awesome. Well, speaking of taking care of yourself, the U.S. team filed their lawsuit today, as we know, or yesterday, excuse me, and it's been documented, Jill, that there's been a big pay disparity between the men's coach and the women's coach in the program. You know, how are you navigating that space, and how do you see things going forward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's breaking news, but I mean, I think, you know, in terms of just women advancing themselves, you know, I'm all in. I think it's something that anytime we can push the envelope, we can push the bar, I think it's important. So, you know, in terms of our players doing what they feel is necessary, I support them in that. I think for me, on a personal level, I have a daughter. She's 14, and I do believe that if two people are have the same expectations, same responsibilities, same pressures in a job, that there should be equal pay for that. You're doing the same job essentially. So, you know, I know that I don't control all of that, but I am a huge advocate for the fact if you're doing the same work with the same pressures, same resources, you should receive the same salary.
Absolutely.
Yep.
For both of you, you know, self-care and personal well-being is obviously a big factor for both of you. You have families and you have to take care of yourself. How are you guys balancing that?
I mean, people talk about work-life balance. I don't think I have. I would fail myself in terms of a grade at that because I don't. I think even when I'm home, I fail to shut down my brain. And I think, how do I compensate that? I think what I try and do is, so for example, next week I'll be in Mexico. I'll miss my daughter's 14th birthday. But I think what I try and do is empower her, knowing that she's loved, knowing she's important, she's independent, she's a strong spirit. So I think for the things that in the time that I'm not there, I try and invest in her as a person. So it's not measured in minutes. It's really investing in her, and that's kind of how I just get myself through it. Because it's tough at times, but I think when you are locked onto something, you have to be all in with that. And sometimes you have to have an understanding network and family and friends around you to support you in that, in what you want to do.
FaceTime helps too, I bet.
FaceTime is big, yes.
Yeah, and I would just say, this whole notion of self-care and well-being is trendy right now. And so I think my own personal definition of self-care, while bubble baths are luxurious and, going to the spa or eating cupcakes or whatever the kind of trendy definition of self-care is that's out there, all of those things are great and a way to enjoy life. But I think for me, self-care is really about making sure that it's not a reprieve. Self-care is not where I go when I'm so completely burnt out and exhausted that I have no other options. Self-care is about daily choices that I make, and some of them are really hard, like not going out with my friends because I know that I have a big presentation to do the next day or the next week, or to know that I've been on the road and I need to kind of slow down and say no to things, kind of do less. To make sure that I'm getting enough sleep, to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, making sure that the relationships in my life aren't toxic, right? And, aren't bringing in negative energy or negative things. And so I think, while, taking bubble baths and all of that is great, that's a way to enjoy life. That to me is not self-care. That's actually part of the enjoyment of life, and it shouldn't be a reprieve that's where I go when I have no other choice, or that I'm so completely exhausted that my body is just saying, okay, this is it. You're down for the count.
Well, you have to take care of yourself, and in that, beyond that, you guys also have to manage a group of people.
Yeah.
And so how do you get the best? How do you motivate people? How do you guys get the best out of the people that you're responsible to then?
I think as a leader, it's important to model the behavior and to be open and authentic about what it is that you're doing for your own self-care, because that gives the people that follow you or the people that work with you their permission to do the same. And so I'm very open and authentic about it. And, sometimes I fail miserably, and I'm open and authentic about that too, And so I'm very diligent about my sleep, but, I will be honest, I flew in at 11 o'clock last night, and I'm leaving tonight, and I'm not getting home until 11 o'clock tonight.
So you're gonna take a bath.
Yeah, so, I don't always get it exactly right, but I'm open and honest about that too, because we're humans, and none of us are perfect. But I think, being open and authentic about what matters to you. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm so diligent about my sleep that, if I'm traveling or I'm with my team and we're out to dinner, they'll be like, Jen, it's like 8:30. We need to wrap it up so you can go to bed, because quite frankly, they know what it's like to be around a Jen that's not well rested. And I don't think they like it very much. So they want to make sure that I get my sleep in it, but it empowers them to do the same.
For you, Jill.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you stand in front of people and part of leadership is trying to inspire, I definitely think you have to make sure you have the energy to give. I mean, I think being a leader, it is a selfless job at times, and I think that's, to Jen's point, it's making sure that you have the energy and the resources to give, and sometimes faking that. I fake it a lot. Sometimes, I've been up till 3 a.m. and you have to get up and you have to be energized for training, and it's just finding that way of making sure that you put that group first and put their needs first. And, especially in coaching, they don't want to see someone stressed out and frazzled. They want to see someone that's relaxed and say, we've got a plan, this is our plan, and it's not, it's not emotional. And so I do think sleep is a huge part of that, but I don't get a lot of it, but I do think
We'll talk about that later.
It's managing, those poses for sure.
For you specifically, then, with managing a bunch of unique personalities that are incredibly strong.
They're all up there eyeballing you right now.
Yeah, they are.
Larger
Tough,
than life.
right? How do you find that you can get the best out of them? What have you learned now? 2015, flash forward is 2019. What have you learned in that process?
I think, I think the basis for leadership, and I don't know if Jennifer agrees with this, but if you connect with people, you have a greater understanding of the fabric of who they are. So, Rose Lavelle loves her dog, and so sometimes it's checking in about things that aren't related to what you do, aren't related to your job, to show that it's different than just a job. So I think, the connection piece and relating to players, I think, is really important. And I think listening is a huge part of really getting the best out of people. I think you've got to be, I think when I was a younger leader, I was very much, this is the way, and you try and come up with all the answers. And I think as I've grown, I recognize that sometimes those guys have great answers, and it's okay to have their input, and it's not a weakness to listen. So I think that's, I think trying to facilitate what they need is a big part of them being prepared and ready to step on the field.
And for, I guess, both of you landing in your career paths, I'm sure you went through some, I would say, shifts in the road. How did you end up here? I know you told me that this wasn't always devised or planned.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unique and exciting story. I've been with Deloitte for 18 years, and starting out, I was go, 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 yes, yes, yes to everything, because I thought that was the way to move up, or to get more responsibility, to get more visibility, until I got myself into a place where I was completely burnt out and couldn't get out of bed, and couldn't function, couldn't get through the day. And fortunately, I have some incredible mentors and some people that wrapped their arms around me, showed me that they cared and that they had interest in me as a human being, and helped me really discover what I was passionate about. But it was, I'd always been passionate about health and well-being my whole life for myself. I think I defined it too narrowly, because I defined it as, okay, as long as I get to the gym 1 hour a day, then I'm good. I didn't really define it holistically as, it's great to go to the gym 1 hour a day, but truthfully, that's not always what we need. But working with my mentors, I realized that this is what I want to do. But Deloitte is an accounting and consulting firm, and quite frankly, I didn't have the vision at the time to say, a leader of well-being at Deloitte is something that we all need. But working with my mentor, and I sat down and I said, I think I might need to leave the firm, because this is what I want to do. And she said, I completely disagree with you, because if you need this, why doesn't everybody else need this? And that kind of opened my eyes to, for all of you, don't limit your perspectives or limit what you can do in life based on roles that currently exist. If you have a passion, or you have, bring that, show up with that and see what you can create from it. Because if I hadn't had that discussion with my mentor, and if she hadn't said, go put your business case, this is something that everybody needs, I probably wouldn't have gone down that path. I probably wouldn't be sitting on this couch today. So that really opened my eyes to say, hold on, I belong here, and this belongs here, and we need it. And so it's been an incredible journey. I think I told you earlier that at least once a week I pinch myself.
Yeah.
So
hopefully not too hard.
No.
For you, I know you grew up around football in England.
Yep.
Did you always see yourself as a manager?
Oh no, it wasn't, I think, similar. There wasn't a viable career path when I was playing. Even, girls in England didn't play, so it wasn't ever something. I love sport, but I didn't think it was ever going to be a career. I actually went to graduate school, and then I went into the business world for a couple of years as a tech writer. And I was doing okay.
What's a tech writer?
You write technical information, and then you teach it. So I was working for a company called Northern Telecom at the time. Anyway, so I did this for like 2 years, and I was like, what am I doing? But again, there wasn't really a viable path. So I remember she was our assistant coach when I was in college. She called and she said, Jill, I've got this second assistant job for $6,000 a year at the University of Maryland. And I was doing all right. I was like 23, and I was probably making like 40, which was a lot of money back then. And I was like, okay. And my mother was like, are you freaking nuts? And my dad was like, go for it. My dad's a coach. And I did. I just, I chose passion over a paycheck, and I just took a leap of faith, and I went to take this job, and I fell in love with what I was doing. And gradually, as I hung in there with it, the job kind of, there's more jobs and more careers, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it was almost kind of forced, but it wasn't planned. It was it wasn't something, people sort of say, oh, follow your passion. Well, I had a passion, but there wasn't anything that was viable to do with it. So I would say, my advice to you guys is find something that you truly enjoy, and there's going to be a lot of different pathways to get to where you want to go. So if you come out of the gate or you come out of college, I had no clue. I did a law internship my junior year, hated it, knew I wasn't going to do that. So you find a lot of different things. So don't feel like you have to have all the answers right away.
Well, along your pathway, was there any decision that you made or anything you did that you would go back and change?
I've made a lot of mistakes, to be honest with you. I think like one of the things I tried to do everything myself, and I think when you suddenly figure out that there are smart people in the room and it's okay to share and ask, I think that's an important lesson I learned. But yeah, I remember I was at UCLA and there was some things said, and I was a bit of an emotional person at that time, and I walked upstairs and I said, I'm done, and I went and quit. I went home, I said, screw it, I'm done, and then gradually I'm like, what have I done, kind of thing. And fortunately, my boss was mature about it, but I think what I've learned is to temper, not to react, but to try and just, really, I'm not super emotional, but I need to think things through and give myself that time to process. And I need instant reaction to things, and I've learned to control that a little bit.
What about for you?
So, I think neither one of us or any of the women that we've had speak today would be here if we hadn't made mistakes along the way, or, there's a graphic out there that many of you have probably seen that kind of, talks about life and your career that, in your mind you think it's this, straight linear path, but what it really looks like is like a bunch of scribbles that a little kid did. And so I certainly felt that. When I went into college, I actually, even though I work for an accounting and consulting firm, I studied accounting, and I got 2 years into that, and I said, there's no way I can do this for the rest of my life. I'm not a math-oriented person, yet I still ended up in the accounting and consulting world. So I think all of my paths eventually converged. But if you had told me even 5 years ago, and I've been in the chief well-being officer role for 4 years, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be doing this, I would have told you, no, you're not right, So I think it's just, and there's been many mistakes along the way. I agree with you. There's an old adage of, you always want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than you. That's absolutely true. Rely on your team and the people that you have hired, empower them and trust them. And I think most importantly, have their back when they make mistakes. I've always felt like, somebody has had my back when I made mistakes. And so I think as a leader, and as you guys are going into the work world, having your team's back when they make a mistake. None of this, unless you're saving lives, which some of you might want to be doctors. So if you make a mistake, that's probably pretty bad. But in the work that I do, mistakes happen, and you learn and you grow from those, and I think we have to kind of change the paradigm a little bit on how we view, especially as women, how we view failure, and it's okay to fail and to make mistakes and to learn from those things. And I think where we fall is we don't learn from them, or we just quickly move on and kind of want to tuck that under the rug a little bit because we don't want to talk about it. But there's a lot of power in talking about those things.
So is there a specific failure or challenge that either of you have faced that you look back on and you're incredibly proud to have overcome?
So I think for me, and I talked a little bit about it previously, was, I don't know if it's like one specific failure, but I think broadly, and what led me here today where I am is I was the person that said yes to everything. And I think that's a big mistake. I think you need to figure out, you're not going to have the whole plan for your whole life, but you can't physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually say yes to everything. That's not sustainable. And so, that's kind of what led me down the path of burnout, was saying yes to everything, believing that was going to get me where I was going. The truth is that I didn't really know where I was going. I was just saying yes to what other people wanted me to do. That wasn't defined by me. And sometimes you're going to have to do that, right? It's not all like, you don't always get to say no, but boundaries and kind of understanding what is important to you and where you want to go, I think is really, really important. And I like to talk about having the courage to do less, but doing less better. And that's really hard. But it was a huge lesson for me, because you can't be everything to everyone all the time and take care of yourself. It just, those things they don't last. They're not sustainable. It's not real. You can have everything. You just can't have it all at the same time.
Fair enough. For you, Jill?
Well, I think obviously in the job I'm in, I mean, it's so black and white failure, right? It's winning or losing. So I think for me, dealing with failure is probably one of the things, something, you know, she's touched upon, because initially I think it was something that I let sit with me, and I mean, failure can either consume you or it can strengthen you. And I think when I was younger, initially it started to sit and get toxic and be like, okay, is this, you know, you start to devalue what you are and who you're about. And I think that shift of suddenly going, you know what, this is something, there is no perfect coach out there that's won every single game. That it is, once you understand that it is a part of that success pathway, then I think you come to terms with it, and then you realize there's so much benefit in it. I mean, even in our games, the games that we lose, we learn more about. The games that are harder, we take away more. And I think if you can apply that to your life, it's actually in those hard moments where you're at your breaking point, where you're not sure if you can get through it, or how do you solve something. That's where you start to tap into your strength in terms of who you are. So I think I've taken failure now as not being a reflection of me, but of being something that can put fuel in my tank, and it can help me be better. You know, I took UCLA to I don't know how many Final Fours, but it was a lot. And you know, there is that period where you kind of go, wow, would I do anything different? And to me, it's like, I know I'm going to continue to prepare and do the things that I believe in, and I think it will pay off. And you know, so that's, yeah, it's a part of it, and I don't think you can shy away from it, and you can't let it take your soul.
That's awesome. And I know a lot of these young women are going to face situations where pressure starts to ramp up. And whatever field they go into after college, or maybe 5 years down the road, you're heading into a World Cup. I mean, there's nothing that gets hotter than that. Yep. How do you manage that? How do you keep your team at bay? Yeah,
I mean, multiple things. People talk, I mean, I think part of it is once you understand that that's a part of it, it's not this thing out there, right? And so I think, first of all, I have an incredible group of players that absolutely love, you know, we talk about living in the pressure cooker. And I truly believe that it strengthens you, because I was that kid that never did my 20-page paper until the night before. You could call me a procrastinator, but I also believe that I needed that internal push to really bring out the best in me. And so that's sometimes where you look at those big moments, you go, but it will bring out the best in us. That's one approach. I think part of it.
Telling you guys to wait to do your papers.
No.
That's what I heard.
But you'll be fine. But I think, you know, and I think the other thing about pressure is how do you actually manage that? And I think you know, I'm sure you guys have a support, you know, having the people that matter are the people that matter. Everybody else don't give a shit about them, right? I mean, honestly, it's like you've got to make sure you focus on, have your group, have your core around you that you trust, that you believe in, and don't worry about what other people think, because they're not in it. I mean, everything you do in your life, anybody sees just the tip of the iceberg. So nobody can really understand what position you're in, what you do, because they only see the tip of the iceberg. But have strength in that piece that sits under there, that you're doing the right thing. So for me, Allie, it's about us being prepared. We're playing the toughest schedule. We're trying to try different things to make sure that we are 100% prepared to step into that pressure cooker. And then it is enjoying that moment, because it's a privilege to have that responsibility. And so we're fired up about it.
What would you say is different from this squad from 2015 to 2019?
I mean, we are, I would say, chronologically a younger group, and probably if you count the caps, the number of times that we're probably not as numbered, but I think the spirit of what they're about is a common thread. So I think we have the experience, but I think that competitiveness, I could go soccer on you, but I'm not going to go soccer on them. But I think overall it's a group that's hungry. You know, people are talking a lot about us defending our World Cup, and this group, they haven't won one. They're going to go out and win one. It doesn't matter what we've done in the past, it's what's in front of us. So that's really been our approach.
And for you, Jennifer, back to the pressure situation, how do you manage that? How do you tell your people, and when you're the one that's instructing them, how to deal with those situations?
Yeah, so I think, you know, pressure or stress, however you want to talk about it, is, I mean, we need stress in our life. Without stress, we'd actually all die. And so I think a good way to think about it is, I mean, when you go to the gym and you want to grow your biceps, you do bicep curls, you stress them out, and then you recover, right? So like you don't do bicep curls 7 days in a row or 14 days in a row. And so when we talk about stress and kind of pressure in the workplace, we talk about it in terms of, you know, learning to use it to enhance your performance, but the best way to do that is to actually make sure that you're intentional about your recovery. And so when you are chronically stressed or chronically under pressure that is too much to handle, that's when you're going to burn out. But if you are intentionally seeking stress, you know you have a big presentation coming up, an interview, whatever it is, you know, kind of use that stress for a positive and kind of use that to fuel you like you would in a game, but then make sure that you have planned recovery. So don't go from, you know, and I'm guilty of it, back to back to back to back to back, where you like don't have time to eat, go to the bathroom, take a breath. So it can happen in small bits throughout the day, or it, you know, making sure you're planning your vacation, making sure you're planning time with family or friends, but being intentional about that. And then that way the stress or the pressure doesn't become this chronic thing in your life that over time just becomes too much to bear. But really, I mean, we change the paradigm on stress and say, you know, you need it. It's what helps you perform. It's how you grow. It's how you learn. But be intentional about that recovery.
Is this all stuff that you researched for yourself, stuff that you discovered, or has there been a mentor, someone that you've looked up to that has helped you guided you in this process?
A little bit of both. I mean, I have incredible leaders that I've had the good fortune to work with that have modeled this behavior, and then given my role and my passion for it and kind of developing the strategy of what this looks like for Deloitte and hopefully the workplace at large over time, is, you know, so there is research out there that supports all of this, but I've also had the incredible fortune of having great leaders that I've watched model this behavior and that have reinforced this behavior and kind of this thinking within the culture of Deloitte.
And for you, Jill, mentors out there that have helped shape you, and do you continue to look to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think in coaching terms, because I was on the early start of females being in coaching, there wasn't a whole lot, but I think the person that hired me at Maryland, April Heinrichs, who also coached our national team, I think April was somebody that, I think the most important thing that I got was someone can do it. And so that's, you know, it was kind of that see it, be it kind of thing. And I suddenly saw that someone could have a career in coaching. And so I think that was important. You know, and being her assistant, it was, I think I got a lot of good takeaways, but I just remember her meeting with players and was always very steady and never emotional, you know, just could get the point across. And so there was something to be said to that, not being too high and too low. So there were a lot of things just in terms of seeing her behaviors that I think were helpful. But yeah, I mean, I think now, I mean, I don't think I had the benefit of mentors, a lot of mentors, because there weren't a lot, and so I would look outside of what I did. You know, my father was a tremendous mentor for me in just, you know, managing life and things like that. They got a lot of experience.
If you guys were to look back or impart to these young women, the biggest strength that you had in getting to where you are, I mean, here you're paving the way, Jill, as a head coach of the national team. You crafted your own position at Deloitte and really created your own industry. What would you tell these women has probably been the most single important factor in helping you get there?
Go for it. So I would say don't limit, you know, I think a lot of the things that held me back initially was my own internal beliefs that I didn't belong or that I didn't have a seat at the table or that I was an imposter and that everyone else around me was smarter, better, belonged here and I didn't. And I think once I was able to shed that and kind of pave my own way and see things differently and kind of see, you know, nothing is impossible, you know, and I think if you are, you know, you might not, you know, to your point, I mean, you might not find a role that's your dream job, find something that you enjoy doing. It might not always be your exact passion in the world, but you can always bring your passion to work with you and show up with that passion, give that passion to others, share it with others. That helps you build camaraderie and connection with others, which is what we all really seek. And that brings meaning and purpose into your work. But, you know, just really show up with your passion and be who you are, and don't limit your own beliefs as to what you should and shouldn't be, or what you can and can't be, or compare yourself to those around you and limit yourself by those beliefs.
I needed to meet you earlier. In my life. Shit.
I needed to meet me too earlier in life.
Exactly. I mean, I think, gosh, if I could peg it to one thing, I think persistence is probably something that has served me well. I think there, doors are going to shut at times, failures are going to happen, doubts are going to creep. I think just the persistence in what you do and what you believe in, not settling, I think is, I say this frequently to my daughter, and she reminds me too, I'm a work in progress. There's no perfection here, right? In terms of, so it's that commitment and that persistence to continue to be better every day at what you do. It sounds cliche-like, but I think that there's no end point. And so I think just being persistent in what you do, to whether it's education, job, being time, whatever you do, be persistent at it, because you will reap the benefits of it.
So true.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to open it up now for you guys to ask questions. So we'll get the mics going, and I think we have our first question up here. And come on, I want you guys to stand up and tell us your name. I'm changing the rules.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. I think I might be the youngest person here. I'm 17. I'm still in high school. And Jill, I have this picture of us from the 2014 World Cup qualifying.
Okay.
Just wanted to
Wow.
say that. My
You came
question
prepared.
is, how difficult was it to take over such a successful program? And what is the best part of your job?
God, that's a great question. You're right, because when I thought about it, I'm like, we were Olympic champions, we won the World Cup, we ranked #1 in the world, and you're kind of like, okay, where do you go from here? I think two things were in my favor. Is one, we hadn't won the World Cup in 16 years, and two, I had an incredible group of women that when you deal with elites, they're always looking to push and look for what's next. And so I think the first thing when I first meeting I ever had with the group, I put up the quote, even if you're on the right track, if you sit there, you'll get run over, because I knew it would get their attention, because no matter how much we'd attained, we still wanted more. And so we had to push to grow. So I think, that was a big part of it. What was the second part of the question?
What is the best part about your job?
Working and doing something I love. I love the game. From the time I was 7 years old, I've loved this sport. I never thought I'd have a career in it. So I think my passion for the game and my passion for people is the best part of the job.
Thank you. And
You're welcome.
Can we take a new picture?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
let's stalk some more. That's awesome.
Next question. Yeah, go ahead. If someone will, right in the middle, please.
I'm on that flight. I gotta back up.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm from England.
No, you're not.
How do you turn failure into success?
So I think the truth is you can't always, but what you can do is learn from it and take that with you and gain the wisdom of what went wrong, what kind of caused the failure, and take that as an opportunity and carry it with you. So I think for me, you can't always turn failure into success. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can go back and fix things, and ends up being not a failure, I guess, at that point. But I think the biggest thing to take away from failure is don't let it stop you. Don't let it kind of, don't let it stop you. Keep going, but take the time to really reflect on it and understand perhaps what went wrong or what it is that you can learn from it and gain that wisdom and take that forward. But just keep moving. If you let it stop you, that's when you get in trouble. And just know that you're human. We're all human. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be failure. And if there's not, then you're probably not human, right? And so everybody around you, everybody that you see, everybody that inspires you, has made a mistake, has had a failure, and that's human. And so just learn from it and keep going and just continue to gain that wisdom.
I wish I could go back and play games over again, but you're right. Sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I would just echo that. It's just definitely about taking away things that you can learn from. and I don't think it's something that you should look at and it destroy you. It's something that will strengthen you. And I think that's something when I was young, I didn't recognize that until I was a little bit older and realized, you know what, I'm a better coach today because of the games I've lost. So.
And I can say from an athlete standpoint, and when you talk to the players that have competed at the highest level, it fuels their next moment. Yeah. So use it as fuel too.
Yeah.
Next question, please. In the back.
Hi, my name is Danya. I'm a student at George Mason University, and I want to say thank you to both of you guys for coming over here. Both of you are super inspiring. But I just wanted to ask, since both of you guys are at really high positions in both of your fields, did you guys ever find it difficult moving your way up through your company or as a head coach, like as compared to your male colleagues, pushing your way up there?
Oh, hell yeah. For sure. I mean, I was just saying this last night. I mean, I think in every coaching license that I've ever been to, I was the only female. I mean, it's a very, sport is especially coaching is a very heavy male-dominated sport. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely something that you sometimes sit in a room and you're by yourself. And by the way, go Patriots, because I know George Mason. But yeah, I mean, I think something I don't know, Jennifer, you maybe allude to this, but I think it's something that I didn't let it dissuade me from being the only person in the room that was female. I tried to, not try to fit in, but you try and take the strengths away. And I actually think it makes you stronger because it is different when you're the only person in the room. But I think it's been challenging. I mean, I would have referees come up and I'd be standing with my assistant coach and they'd go straight to my assistant coach who was male. And so there's all these things that I can reference. But I think at the end of the day, it is about, I lean back to the persistence and the confidence in what you do, regardless of kind of, what's around you in terms of male, female. It doesn't matter. I think it's the belief in what you do. So.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I would say that fortunately at Deloitte, we have a long history of having very strong female and male leaders, and we're very proud of our history of inclusion. But certainly, I think in my career, I've been the only woman in the room. But I guess I didn't view it that way. I viewed it as, I'm just like them, or I viewed it as an opportunity or a challenge to show them that I can do these things just the way that they can. But I didn't really view it as, kind of being the only woman in the room. I viewed it as, we're all here together and kind of an opportunity to really kind of show that women can do exactly the same thing that men can.
Up here, yes, please. I lost our mics. There we go. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tatiana. I'm a graduate student at NYU studying healthcare management and about to walk into the professional world. So I was curious if either of you have any tips on salary negotiation.
That's a good one.
Jill?
Well, seeing as I'm paid a lot less, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think get comfortable with it as soon as you possibly can. It took me a long time to get comfortable with it. It is, because I think oftentimes we think, oh, I'm just, happy to have a job. Get that mindset out. I mean, I would probably read up on it because I'm not an expert, but I think it's obviously looking at what's out there so you're not off either way, high or low. I mean, get yourself what you're worth. But then I think it's having the confidence to have that conversation. I think more times than not, when I've heard people talk about, negotiating salaries, it's like the people listening actually respect you more for just being, very upfront about what you think you can bring and what you're worth. And if people take offense to that, then tough, in terms of, I think that. But I've had some interesting situations where I'm like, you know what, I think this is what I'm bringing to the table, and I think this is fair compensation for that. And it's not always a pleasant thing, and I can't say I'm the best at it, but sometimes you're limited by where you are.
Yeah, and I would echo most of that. I would say, you know, do your research. You know, come in knowledgeable, come in knowing, you know, having realistic expectations, but also having the confidence in yourself to have the conversation. And if you don't feel that what's being offered to you is within what you've researched or within kind of the realm of your expectations, have the conversation and don't be afraid to ask the question.
Last question. Yep, right here.
Hi, my name is Carly. I play soccer for Bryn Mawr College outside of Philadelphia. I was wondering what each of you thought the most important aspects of a successful team culture are.
I would say probably caring for one another, having each other's back truly, and celebrating one another's success, and then being open and authentic as to who you really are and what you need. And don't be afraid to ask for help and ask for what you need from others on the team, because that just creates an environment where everybody's open and kind of expresses what they need, asks for what they need, and gets what they need. And so when somebody needs a little bit of flex on something, you know, you're all willing to kind of go in and jump in. But I think really it's about caring and having each other's back no matter what the situation is. If you're winning and it's great, if you're losing and it's not so great, you're still all in it together.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would, you know, we talk a lot within the women's national team, like, you know, what is in their DNA? And I think a team culture, it is respecting what people can do together. You know, I think a little bit it's interesting because I think sometimes when you have a team, not everybody's going to be each other's best friends. But I think it's making sure that the mission of the group is the priority, that people understand that, they know their role. I think that's clear, you know. I think as a coach, as you start to build a team, having hierarchy is actually important within a team, so people can really understand there's no gray area in terms of knowing their role. But I think, yeah, I do. I think team culture, it's very much about fostering a group cohesion in terms of what the mission at hand is, what the task is. And I think, you know, I think the things that are going to help us be successful, it is trust. I mean, I think our players have to trust each other. They don't have to be best friends, but they have to trust each other on and off the field in terms of what they're giving. I think a work ethic is expected within our group in terms of just everybody. You know, we always sort of say, what are you prepared to do for it? Are you really willing to do everything? So I think trust is a massive part of our team culture in terms of having everybody give what they have to give to be successful.
Well, we got to say thank you to you guys. An incredible panel. Two remarkable women who are paving the way for generations to come for you guys, really. And what is so intriguing to me is how different your professions are, and yet the commonalities, the threads that tie the message that you're giving to these young women. So hopefully you guys picked up on that. Thank you guys. And we have to say a massive thank you as well to Nike for hosting this event, and Deloitte being a title sponsor in this. And Nike actually has put together a video for you. So if you guys were not inspired enough, we're going to share a video that was created to inspire women and girls to not listen to people that say they can't or think something they want to do is crazy. Dream crazy, do more, blaze your own trail, and make your own dreams come true. Let's watch this.
If we show emotion, we're called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we stand for something, we're unhinged.
It's super, it's gonna need to calm down.
When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical or rational or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking? Crazy. coaching an NBA team. Crazy. A woman competing in a hit job, changing her sport, landing a double cork 1080, or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
So good. I love that. Chills. Thank you, Nike, for that. I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists, all of our speakers that we had today, and perhaps most importantly, thank you to you guys for coming out and showing up. I think if there's one thing that I hope you take away from all these messages of these remarkable journeys, of all these remarkable paths, is that these women were you. And remember that. And every path is going to be different. You're going to find yourself going down one road and you're going to shift. How many times did you hear that narrative today? That where they started is not where they ended up. But at the end of the day, they attack their path with confidence, with grit, with hard work, and I thought, interestingly enough, with awareness. So take in your surroundings. I have no doubt you guys are going to change the world, that we are going to hear much from you to come. So please be bold, be brave, and as they say, be disruptive. Now on to some housework stuff. We are going to close out the day, and we're actually announcing that U.S. Soccer is going to be hosting a second annual SheBelieves internship program that will connect young women, much like you guys, to internships across the country. In collaboration with sponsors and partners of U.S. Soccer, these internships are in fields, so maybe you're looking for a job. You might have to negotiate after all. Internships are in fields or positions that traditionally see fewer female participants to continue spreading the SheBelieves ethos that you can achieve your dreams regardless of your gender. In addition to the day-to-day internship, the program includes pairing interns with a mentor within their host organization, as well as a series of hosted webinars for the entire intern class. The internship will culminate with a visit to U.S. Soccer's headquarters in Chicago, Illinois, which I've actually never been to. We actually have a few 2018 SheBelieves interns in attendance today. Can you guys please stand up? Thank you very much for taking the leap with us last year as being that first class, and congratulations on your success. More information will be sent all to your email if you registered here today, and positions will be posted on the U.S. Soccer website in weeks to come. Lastly, the most incredible women's sporting event in the world is happening this summer. What is it? Yes, that's right. Where is it? France. Who's hosting it? France. Well, I'm sorry. What TV station is it on? Fox. Good answer. U.S. is going to be trying to defend that fourth star. Guys, tune in, watch all the games, and it's not just the U.S. that you want to watch. You're going to want to watch all these countries because they're all exciting. I think this is going to be the best World Cup we've had in terms of the level of play, so please tune in. And we invite you now to stay with us and join us for an Empower Hour. You've heard from session leaders and panelists that have shown bravery and strength at tough times. During Empower Hour, we challenge you to meet someone new, share your story, and perhaps you can be an inspiration to them, and then you can grab inspiration from one another. But more importantly, perhaps just go relax. You guys have had a long day today, and enjoy yourselves. So thank you once again for being a part of our second annual SheBelieves Summit, presented by Deloitte. Go on.